Hi, my name is Marco van Wieren and I'm the developer of the WPO365 plugin for WordPress. WPO365 plugins help you integrate the exciting Microsoft Cloud in your WordPress website. For example, if you wish to embed content from Microsoft 365 from SharePoint or from Power BI, maybe you want to enable your Entra ID users to single sign on into your WordPress website. Maybe you're making an intranet, an extranet for your customers, or whatever is your use case. Or maybe you wish to send WordPress emails using one of your Microsoft 365 mailboxes. And that's the topic of today's video. Let's get started. In today's video, I will enable my site at staging.wpo365connect.com to send emails using my Microsoft 365 mailbox. And to do that, I will start by going to plugins and add a new plugin. And I will search for WPO365. And from the results, I will install the WPO365 Microsoft 365 Graph Mailer plugin. I click Install Now, and finally I will click to activate the plugin. To start with the configuration of the plugin, I can either click the configuration link that I find on the installed plugins page, or I can click the WPO365 link that I'll find in the WordPress admin menu bar. So let's do that. And when the configuration pages are loaded, the first page that loads is a dashboard page. It gives me access to the available features, which is the default mail feature and a set of premium features, which are currently not enabled. And if you wish to enable that, you could consider to add the WPO365 mail plugin, which add a number of premium features like auto resend on failure, sending of large attachments, throttling of the number of emails that are sent per minute, and more. It also, the dashboard page, gives access to the insights page. And let's go to the insights page and let's enable insights. And there will be a separate video on what insights really can do for you. But for the moment, I'll just enable it. And later on, I will have a quick look because it can also show to me how many emails were sent successfully and not sent successfully. And that gives you a good idea of how the plugin is performing. And last but not least, the dashboard also allows you to open the panel with WPO365 health messages. Well, at the moment, we've just installed the plugin, so there's no error to report. So I click close or dismiss, and I will continue with the actual configuration. To get started with the configuration of my WordPress website, so that it will send emails using Microsoft Graph, I will need to go to the mail configuration page. At the top of the page, there are links for more information that describes the available features to me and a link to the tutorial. And this video is part of that tutorial, of course. You also notice that sending emails with Microsoft Graph is currently disabled, and I need to explicitly enable that. As soon as I have enabled the feature, my WordPress website will attempt to send any emails using Microsoft Graph. Since that is unconfigured at this moment, sending those emails will fail. So I recommend that you do this in a time where your website doesn't have any visitors. To be able to send emails using Microsoft Graph, I need to integrate to register my website in Entra ID as an application. Only then can my website obtain the necessary credentials, authorization, basically to connect to Microsoft Graph. So let's start with it. Let's register the WordPress website in Microsoft Entra. To register my website in Microsoft Entra, I will need to go to entra.microsoft.com. This gives me access to my Entra ID tenant, and here I have a page for app registrations. And on this page, I can register a new app. I can register my WordPress website. So let's create a new app, video demo mail. Just give a name here, a display name. It's a single tenant only account type that I wish to register. It's basically one of the user accounts in my Entra ID that I will authorize to send emails from my website and to submit those emails to Microsoft Graph. And well, part of the app registration is that I tell basically Entra ID where they can redirect a user when they authorize back to. So that's basically the website address. So if I go back to my website and where I'm configuring the plugin and I scroll down a little bit, I see that there is a proposed redirect URI. So I will take that, I will copy that, and in Entra ID, I use that as a redirect URI for the web platform. So I paste the value that I just copied and I register my website. As soon as I have registered my website, I'm given an application ID. And this application ID is basically the username when my application, the WordPress website, needs to integrate with Entra ID. So I copy that application ID and I paste it into the corresponding field on the mail configuration page of the plugin. But that's not enough. I also need to configure the directory tenant ID. I also need to tell basically WordPress what is the ID of the Microsoft tenant. So not only the application is important, also the tenant. So let's copy also that value. It's on the same overview page of my app registration and let's paste it here. What I can see is that next I need also a secret. That secret will be kind of the password of the application. So the application will integrate with WordPress by basically sending a username, the ID, and a secret. But this secret we need to create. So let's go back to Entra Portal. And here I have a certificates and secrets page. And I can click to open it and I can click to create a new client secret. And you can see that when I create a new secret, I can say how long that secret should be valid for. The default is 180 days, so let's leave it to 180 days and let's add this secret. And now I can copy the value of that secret, not the ID. We really need the value of that secret. I copy that to the clipboard, but before I leave here, I want to make a remark. It's very important that you take a note of this expiration date. Before the 26th of August 2026, I would need to come back to this exact page, to the certificates and secrets page. I would need to create a new secret. And from the new secret, I need to copy the value and do the same thing as I will do now. I will namely take the value and I will paste it in the application secret setting on the mail configuration page. Once a secret is expired, the plugin won't be able to basically use its authorization and it can't send emails anymore. And you will see an error message being reported as a WPO365 health message. So I have registered the application in Entra ID and I've already created the secret. Still, there are some things to do and I need to return to Microsoft Entra Portal. I could click the View in Entra Portal link in case that I have already closed the tab where I'm looking at working on my app registration. So I can continue here basically. You can still see that I've created a new password here, the secret, but there is also the token configuration. Here I want to add a few optional claims to the ID token for email, family name, given name, and UPN. And when I do that, I'm asked whether I would like to turn on a few permissions. I'll come back to that later, but for the moment I'll say yes, I would like that, and I add those permissions. Basically, WPO is using this information to validate the incoming authorization by checking the user, by making sure that the plugin can operate as expected. There is a way to basically move around this, and I will show that in a bit. So this is the token configuration. I'm happy with that. Still, we need to assign some permissions. And if I click on the API permissions page, I see that some permissions have already been added, like the signing in and some of the OpenID permissions, but I still need more. So I click add a permission, I click Microsoft Graph, delegated permissions, and I basically check all the options under OpenID permissions. But I need more permissions. I also want to be able to send emails. So I need to go to the mail send permission, which I find here under mail. There is mail send. I want to be able to send mail as a user. So let's do that. There's a premium option so that you can send mail from a shared mailbox. If you are configuring that at the moment, then also you need to check the mail send shared option. Not only that, if you also need to send attachments larger than 3 MB, then you would also need to check the option to read and write mail. So let's check that option as well. And also check the option for mail, read, write, and share if you need to send emails from a shared mailbox with attachments larger than 3 megabits. So these are the permissions that I'm adding. Adding the permissions is not enough. You also need to grant your admin consent. Your consent as an administrator of this Entra ID tenant. So let's do that as well by clicking the link provided and confirm. If this link appears grayed out to you, in that case you don't have sufficient permissions and you would need to contact your global administrator for your Entra ID tenant. So I'm back at the mail configuration page of WPO365 because I've completed the registration of my WordPress website in my Entra ID tenant. So let's continue and let's authorize one of the user accounts in my Entra ID tenant to submit my WordPress email messages to Microsoft Graph. First thing that I need to configure is a desired authorization scenario. If I look at the options, I can see that there are 4 at the moment. The first option, and that's the recommended option, is to send as a user. That's using restricted permissions basically for only one user that we now authorize to submit email messages to Microsoft Graph. There is an application level alternative, but then you would be able to send as any user. But it also means that your website becomes kind of a risk. If it would be hacked, it would give that person the ability to send emails from any account in your organization. So handle with care, I would say. Other options are to send from a personal account. I will do a separate video for that. If you wish to send an email from an Outlook account, for example. And then there is also a kind of more specialist option to send as any user. So it uses the application level permissions from a point of Entra ID, from the perspective of Entra ID. But you would set limitations, you configure a role-based access basically in Exchange Online. For this video, I will continue with send as a user, the delegated permissions. For that, we've also configured our app registration. As soon as I make a change, I'm asked whether the plugin shall check for any changes. So I can say yes, check status, but you can see the status is still unauthorized because we didn't complete the authorization. So we have our app registration. We have registered our application in Entra ID. We have selected an authorization scenario using delegated permissions, and we've also configured those delegated permissions on the API permissions page of the app registration in Entra ID. So we're actually ready to start with the authorization. For that, I would need to specify an account that I would like to authorize. That's basically the user account that will always be used by the plugin to submit the messages to Microsoft Graph. That does not necessarily mean that that will also be the sender of the message as it appears to the recipient of the message. But I'll come back to that a little bit later. Let's authorize the account of Alan at WPO365.com. I simply click the Authorize button to start the authorization procedure. I'm being taken to Microsoft and I'm asked to sign in as Alan, but since I already did it once in this specific browser tab, I was actually not even asked to enter a password. So if I scroll down now, I can see that I've authorized the account of Alan and that the authorization was successful. So that's great. So let's test this configuration. I can simply scroll down and send a test email, for example, to demo@WPO365.com. And I can scroll all the way down, save the configuration and send the test email. But before I do that, two things that I want to quickly look at. I want my emails to be sent as HTML. Yes, alternatively, I could send them as text. And I would like to save any items sent in my sent items folder. So that basically means that if I send an email, it should be saved in the sent items mailbox of alan@WPO365.com. So let's start and send a test email to demo@WPO365.com. Well, here it says that apparently it went out successful. The email was sent successful. And to be sure, I can also check the debug log, which you'll find here from the menu. There's a special debug page. And here you can see, are there any warnings? Well, these warnings are from a little while ago, so they don't apply to basically this test of the email sending functionality. So I ignored those for the moment. Let's get back to the mail configuration page where I just sent a test email. And actually, let's have a look in demo@WPO365.com's inbox whether an email was received. I switch tab profiles. I go to John Demos tab. And here I've already opened his web mail, basically outlook.office.com. And I can see that he received an email from Alan. Let's also have a quick look at Alan's tab. And here I also opened her Outlook on the web. And if I look at her sent items, I can see that there is an email sent to John Demo. So basically that's working as expected. I have confirmed that my WordPress website can send emails using Microsoft Graph, using the authorized account of Alan at WPO365.com. So that's great. In the beginning of this video, I also enabled WPO365 Insights. And when I scroll down a little bit on the Insights page, I can see in the mail section that indeed emails have been sent successfully. So that's a great way of tracking the performance of the WPO365 plugin. Now let's have a look at a couple of premium use cases. For that, I have purchased and installed the Mail premium plugin. I've downloaded the plugin and I've added it via the upload functionality of add plugins to the installed plugins. I can see it here in WPO365 Mail. This is the premium extension that extends the functionality of the Microsoft 365 Graph Mailer plugin. If I now return to the configuration pages, the mail configuration pages of the WPO365 plugin, I can see that I have a number of additional options. I would like to iterate over them and introduce a couple of them. First, I would like to look at the possibility of sending emails not from Alan's account, but from a shared mailbox. And I can see that I have an option for that. Send from a shared mailbox. And I can check that option now. And I can say what shared mailbox this should be. Well, I have a sales@WPO365.com shared mailbox. And if I have a quick look in Microsoft Admin, which I've opened here, and I've opened under Teams and Groups, the shared mailbox page, I can see that I have a shared mailbox sales inquiries. And that the email address of this shared mailbox is sales@WPO365.com. And I can also see that member of this shared mailbox is Alan. So Alan@WPO365.com can send emails on behalf of this shared mailbox. And that is important. Because remember that we are sending WordPress emails using Microsoft Graph, using delegated permissions assigned to the user account of Alan. So Alan is the only account that can actually submit email messages to Microsoft Graph. But if we then tell Microsoft Graph to send on behalf of this shared mailbox, then things should start to work. So let's return to the mail configuration page, where I've entered the name, or actually the address of the shared mailbox, and I've checked the box to send from a shared mailbox. And let's scroll all the way down and let's save the configuration. Now I'll get an error. The error that I get is not that the configuration could not be saved or that things are not working. It's simply an error because it is also trying to send a test email, and that failed because I didn't enter the recipient of that test email. So let's say that demo@WPO365.com should receive a test email. And let's again click to save the configuration and send a test email. Now the sending of the email to Microsoft Graph, the submitting of the email, had been successful. Keep in mind that submitting an email not automatically means that the email also has been sent successfully by Exchange Online. It's just been submitted successfully to Microsoft Graph. So let's have a quick look and switch to the tab of John. And let's look at John's inbox. And there we can see that a new email has arrived and it's been sent by sales inquiries. Let's quickly move back to the Microsoft Admin. And let's have a quick look at the Exchange Online Admin Center. Because here I have an ability to basically also look up the trace of the email messages. And why is that important? Well, if an email message was not sent, then you have an ability to go here to the mail flow and do a message trace to start look up messages that maybe have been accepted or sent to Exchange Online by Microsoft Graph, but never were received by the recipient. So here you could start a default trace, or you could, for example, say like, okay, I'd like to see messages sent for my primary domain in the last day. Whatever your take is here, it allows you to look up messages and to try and follow the message to see the trace of that message. I am back at the mail configuration page of the WPO365 plugin. And you can see that I unchecked the option to send from a shared mailbox. This basically means that emails will now be sent again and appear to the recipient as sent from Alan@WPO365.com. But now I would like instead to allow the sending application, the sending plugin, for instance, my contact form, to basically set the from address instead. And I can check the option, allow sending from all the mailboxes, that would do that, that would allow that. I would save my updated configuration. And of course, sending a test email will fail because I didn't specify a recipient. So now I'm able to specify in a form a different from address. But this from address, for instance, sales@WPO365.com, must still be an address for which the authorized account has delegated permissions to send emails on behalf or as that specified from address. So let's make an example so it's a bit clearer. For that, I have installed the Context Form 7 plugin. And I go to Contact and I look at the default contact form that has been created when I installed the plugin. Here I can go to the mail pages to configure the mail that is generated by this form, and I say that the from address should be sales@wpo365.com. I would also like to send a copy of that email of the form to the user. So that should go to your email, which is the email address that the user is entering. And it should be sent also from sales@wpo365.com. I'm happy with that. I save the configuration. I copy the shortcode. I will create a new post for my contact form. And I add a shortcode to that page, and I will have a look at the page and I will fill out my beautiful contact form. This is an email from Max Demo, or maybe better actually, John Demo. The email address is demo@wpo365.com. This is a test message, and I click submit to submit my form. And when I do, I see that the form was basically submitted successfully. It has been sent. So if I now switch profiles and I go to the tab of John, then I can see that a new email was sent again from Sales Inquiries, and that's a copy of the form that I just filled out. I am back at the plugins mail configuration page. I just want to showcase a few more premium options. There's one that's called Log All Emails Sent. And this, when checked and when saved, of course without sending a test email, allows me to view the logs of all the emails that were sent. So if I would go, for example, to my post with my contact form, and I would say my name is John Demo, and my email is demo@wpo365.com. And if it's test mail audit log, let's copy that, and let's also use that as a body, and let's submit this email. Then I can see that it's sent successfully. If I then would return to the mail configuration page, for example, I go to mail and scroll down to the option, then I see that there's a link to view the logs. Let's do that. And then I can see that test mail audit log, that this email has been logged. So I can see whether the email was sent successfully. Yes. I can see that it was tried one time, and I can see some additional info, the ID of the email, that it was sent successfully. I can see the headers, that it's from contact form 7, the timestamp, etc. I could even also try now to send it again. For example, if one of your emails fails to send, there are still reasons why that might happen. Maybe the secret was expired, or maybe a timeout occurred. So let's click send again, and let's refresh the log, and then I can have another look, and I can see that there were 2 attempts. Well, from 1, because it's not a retry, it was one thing that I did myself. So the email has been sent again. So that is the mail error log, and I can also filter for errors. Well, none happened at this point in time, so that's great. I can also access this mail log when I click from the menu and select Mail Log Viewer. That will take me immediately to this page as well. So let's return to the mail configuration page. And let's have a look at the other options. For example, when I enable the mail log, then the retention of that mail log is 90 days. That means after 90 days, log entries older than 90 days will be deleted. I have also an option to resend failed emails automatically. And if I check that option and I read the warning about what you need to do to ensure that WP cron is running continuously, read that information, because otherwise you might rely on this functionality, but it's not working as you expected. And then you can define how many attempts should be made. It's by default 3. And how much time should be between each attempt. So maybe after 1 hour, check for failed emails and send again. Then after 2 hours more, check again. And then after 4 hours more, check again. So I find this okay and I save the configuration. Of course, I didn't send a test email, so I see an error here. So with this configuration in place, I have kind of I would say, monitored email delivery. There's no guarantee that emails will be sent, but attempts will be made to resend failed emails automatically. And if all else fails, then still you can view the logs and resend manually if needed. Thank you for watching this video. If anything had been unclear or if the configuration is not working for you as expected, then please click here. Question mark at the bottom. This will bring you to the contact form on the website. Fill it out and ask your question, ask for support. We're here to help, and I'm more than happy to help to make sure that you are successful with your implementation of the WPO365 plugin. And whilst you're at it, don't forget to visit our site and have a look at all the other available features and use cases that WPO plugins allow you to implement on the cutting edge between the Microsoft Cloud and your WordPress website. And last but not least, if you're happy with what you've seen and if you're happy with the plugin, then please make sure that you leave a review in the WordPress plugins directory. Simply look us up at WPO365. Thank you for watching.